I'm very pleased today to talk to Sieta van Keimpema, a board member of the Farmer Defence Force and the president of Milk Board. We are observing what is happening lately in the Netherlands, and with a very great interest, as it's touching all of us farmers. You are fighting for the all agriculture in Europe, so fingers crossed for you. And okay, but one by one maybe. So could you explain to us what is really happening at the moment in the Netherlands, and what your law is government trying to introduce now, and what is most importantly, what would be the consequences for the farmers?
Yes, a few years ago concerning the Natura 2000 areas, the Netherlands made regulations, also standards, and these standards are the critical deposition standards are very low. They are 100 times lower than in Germany. So today the government says that nitrogen is a problem. We are going over this critical data and they say we have to reduce nitrogen. Now we all know as farmers that you have ammonia, but you also have the nitrogen coming from industry and cars. What they are doing now today in the Netherlands is that the farmers have to deliver. So they have to reduce up till 95% of their emissions of nitrogen, and the industry can just continue. And industry can get innovations, can get even $1 million per laborer in subsidies, but we as farmers just have to disappear. So a letter was sent on the 10th of June to our parliament with a proposition to end the farms of 30% of our farmers. So 30% of the sector will go away if the government continues. When they do not want to go voluntarily, they have to go by taking away all, so your farm and your well, actually everything that you own and that you use, so also the land, the meadows, etc. And for the other areas, we have to reduce from 12% to 95%. Now, the real status is that since 1990, agricultural sector was the only sector who reduced nitrogen, and we already reduced 68% of our emissions. All other sectors in the Netherlands have reduced 0%. So farmers are furious now, and we had a very peaceful demonstration with 60,000 farmers and people who really sympathize with us in the middle of the Netherlands. Government just ignores that and wants to continue, and now the farmers all have wild demonstrations. They are not organized, they're just going on the streets, and they are very, very angry.
So there is no politicians which would support you at the moment. All the politicians that they think this decisions of the government is right.
There are two organizations, two political parties who should have been on the side of the farmers. There's one that was also a typical farmers organization in this coalition, but they also continue and they want to become more of a city party. So the land of the Netherlands, people who live in the land are really left behind today.
Okay, and what do you think? What's the reason of it? Why the government is deciding for such a silly regulations for the farmers?
Well, I think we have a very silly government. Government also who really stamps on people. They already did this with several groups of people in the Netherlands in the last 10 years. They really did very bad things, and they all let it happen by not regulating in an honest way, in a democratic way. But they want our land. They want our land to build houses, to build industry, to put roads on. And that's really the underlying thing. They have a priority list. On this priority list, there are airfields like Schiphol, like Lelystad, who is in the middle of a Nature 2000 area. But this airfield also has to open, the government says. So they just want to sweep away every farm from the countryside, just to use the land and to use the nitrogen rights that we have.
That's very depressing, to be honest, especially in the light of what's happening at the moment in the world, the big conflict in Ukraine, and so we all Europe stand and all world standing in front of the huge threat of the food security. So. What's going to happen next? How do you think this one may have influence on the food security widely?
Well, we have two ministers of agriculture. One is for nature and nitrogen, and the other one is for agriculture in general. And he just says we do not need to produce our own food. We can buy it from somewhere else. And so food security for these ministers is not an issue at all. They don't look at what is happening in the world. They're not interested in what's happening in the world. They are just having their own agenda, and that is get the farmers out of the Netherlands and use the land for. So they then buy the land very cheap because they now reduced the value by these letters that they send. They reduced the value up till 66% because nature land here is only a third of agricultural land in value. That's already what they did, and now they are going to buy it very cheap because in a while farmers cannot pay the loans anymore to the banks, and then they have cheap land and they can build houses whatever they want.
So what will happen in the Netherlands now if the government won't stop the regulations? So you think farmers, how desperate the farmers are now?
They are very desperate. So now we had this big demonstration last week that was very peaceful, and the unity amongst the farmers was enormous, still is. But now you saw in all the app groups, since our government didn't react at all to this demonstration, that they say, okay, then we're just going on the streets and we're just going to have our own demonstrations. So we cannot coordinate. Everything is happening everywhere. So it's very uncertain.
Yeah, your demonstration was very impressive and huge, and so many farmers, like almost all of the farmers from your country, Dutch farmers attended. So it was so impressive. We all were so amazed here in Poland as well. We supporting you, and that's why we as well send you the video during the protest. What was the reaction of the farmers when they saw Szczepan talking to Polish farmer talking to crowd?
I think it was very good for the farmers to see that the unity amongst farmers is much broader than just the Netherlands, that we have support in different countries, and also that a lot of farmers know what it means when your sector is the one that has to disappear. And so yes, the farmers were impressed.
Lovely to hear that. And we always with you, we will try to do our best, because as we all think, probably unite now, we have to all unite, all the farmers around the Europe need to unite to stop that sick regulations. And I hope things will go smooth for you. Yeah, all the best. And thank you very much for your time, Sieta.
Thank you also.